Hi guys and welcome back to the channel and welcome to yet another episode reaction for the Summer Hikaru Died. We are checking out episode number 10 this time. We are into double digits and this means this plus two more and we're finished with the Summer Hikaru Died season 1. It's absolutely insane that we're this close to the end already. I know that a season 2 was announced. I don't know when it's coming. I don't know really much more than that. I do believe I heard that season 2 should probably wrap up the series, I think is what I heard. But again, I don't really know anything. I'm trying to stay out of the loop of just about everything. But we are checking out episode 10 here today. And one thing I do want to talk about before we check this one out, it's something that I added in as a little editor note, but I kind of wanted to talk about it just a little bit more. From the previous episode, the end of the previous episode, that company guy is an absolute psychopath. He is psychotic and he is crazy. He just slashed the head off of a teenage boy by appearance, and he's over here singing his little like ba 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 ba. Yes, like what? He is a psychopath. He is crazy, and yeah, I'm worried about what might come next, though. The fact that this has happened so soon into the series, I say so soon, like we're almost finished season 1, but I know that Hikaru's going to be okay because, you know, the slash across his neck, we see that in the ending. I don't know what is going to happen, if this guy is going to kind of like help us out because he doesn't like what's happening on this this village or whatever, so maybe he'll eventually come around to us or something. Like, who knows? I have no clue. I have questions and I need those questions answered. So yeah, with that said, I think we should probably jump into this next episode, right? If you guys do enjoy these videos, please leave a like and subscribe if you have not done so already, and comment down below letting me know if you have any plans for this upcoming Halloween, and yeah, what you're planning to like dress up as or anything, if you're doing anything like that, or maybe you're just working, which is very frustrating. I've been there. But yeah, if you guys want to show even more support, you can hit the bell down below so that you'll be notified when these videos go live and you will be one of the first people to hear about it. And as always, share this with someone who might enjoy these videos. Your support, sharing these videos means a lot, and it really just helps with growth and everything for the channel. You guys are amazing and I cannot wait to get into this one. So yeah, let's check out The Summer Hikaru Died, episode number 10. Let's go. Oh, episode number 10. What do you got in store for us? We got to pick things up right where we left off, surely, with the heads incident. Oh, there it is. Jeez, the way the body's still sitting up is crazy. Oh, it's targeting the company guy. Oh shit, knocked the glasses off his head. He's going crazy. He does have markings under his eye, like I was kind of guessing. Jeez, this is intense. That's one hell of a way to start an episode. Ooh, it's returning? How though? But he did it. Shit, the desperation from Yoshiki was... Yeah, I'd be passing out too. Jeez, this poor kid. Having to witness that. Like, yes, his friend is dead, but in a way, this is like a new friend. I don't know. Yeah, that was wild. Kibogiyama Hospital. Is Hikaru gonna wake up here, or is this gonna be Yoshiki? Yoshiki, okay. Jeez. Witnessing everything you did and then waking up. Episode 10, Truth. Jeez. A minor village feud. How are they gonna explain the neck? But he's alive, or, you know. Oh boy. Yo, he was crazy. He was laughing and shit. Having it show up in this era? Whoa. Your ultimate goal? What? Bro, what is your deal, company guy?
時間がかかるんや。命に関わるダメージの時は。
親父は多分助からんらしい。
Shit.
心臓発作やと。
駆けつけたが間に合わなかった。すみません。
What are you sorry about?
いや、
What even happened with the father?
ほっとしとる。不謹慎やけどな。
そういえば僕のサングラス知りませんか？
目の前にあるやろ。
Is he blind?
もしかして目が見えとらんのか？
That's crazy. That explains why I thought his eyes looked a bit strange in the last episode. It's not that they're strange, they're just kind of like glazed over and I don't know, is that like cataracts or something? I'm not sure. Ready to go. Look at that hand mark. It's like a whole thing now.
これかけてれば見えます。
Interesting.
支給なんか尺すけれどね。
It's like you owe them.
お前は一体何が目的でここに来た？
Are you Ria's
仕事ですけど。
son, and is it that like you were blinded?
あの世由来のあるものを探してる。
From their world?
ちゃう。会社やなくて、お前個人の目的や。
From your company's world or from like their world in general? Like it's just a phrase.
意外と鋭いな。脳抜き様。
No,
あれをなんと
Nuki.
かする気なのは間違ってないっす。
Okay, so that is Nonaki
少な
then.
からず僕は人間の味方ですから。
On humanity's side.
ただちょっとやることが増えました。
That had to be really traumatizing for Yoshiki. I can't imagine how he's just going back to eating food.
危ないこととかに巻き込まれてないよね。もし困ってるなら。
平気やから。ごちそうさま。
Damn. And the daughter just being like, just leave him alone. Oh shit, father came.
大丈夫か？
Oh wow. That he does care about him. Oh my god, sure, he says. He rushed all the way here to make sure you were okay. That's really nice, actually. I didn't think they had that kind of relationship. A YouTuber, a YTuber. Damn, he went down Turbo Granny's tunnel. Oh shit, people's bones? Jeez. From human torsos? Ah, all parts of the body. Shit. They never found the skulls, but they're in Kubitachi.
俺が見てきた化け物たちもみんな首から上がおかしい奴らばっか。
Ah.
その人刀の2日経っても何の動きもない。
こいつを払うために。
Nah, she knows spirit mediums. Yeah, she is one.
こんなの払えやせんわよ。
Shit, really?
確かにだいぶ弱っとるけど、人間がどうこうできるレベルやないよ。人ができるんは物理的に村から連れ出すとか閉じ込めちゃうとか、常に警戒して危ななったらうちに逃げなさい。私もその男調べてみるわ。
Oh, it's nice to have someone here to look after us. Who cares about us?
霊媒か。もしくは
That company, she knows. He's opened his eyes. Holy shit, they are bright red. Okay. Jeez. Was he pulling him in? It's a good thing Ria was here.
あんた自分の名前言える？
光る。インド光です。
Was he pulling him in somehow? Like, how did that work? I don't think he sent out his stuff, you know?
お前通覚なかったんとちゃうの？
Well, he can now.
最近ちょっと。
Because he ripped out half his being.
ねえだいぶ弱っとるやろ。初めて会った時から思っとったけど、私が山から感じ取った気配よりだいぶ小
Yep,
さい。
much smaller. And Yoshiki knows why,
ち
yeah.
ゃうよ。そういうやめろや。そうやあいつグラサンのおっさん。
Remember him?
せやなかった。多分いわくつきや。
Absolutely, it was blunt as shit. Damn, and Yoshiki's just like,
アホや何も気づかん
yeah, how would you feel about that?
襲われたら
そしたら逃げんでまた首切られてもくっつくしなでもなんか首取りやすくなったかも
Now that there's a permanent scar, yeah. Oh, he's
そ
laughing.
の線消えへんの
え何線
いや首の
うわ待ってほんまに首取られたのあ待て待て待て嘘
Wow, this goofball. But yeah, he just woke up, so he probably doesn't know about the line in all honesty.
元気だったらダメだ
Aww, Maki with his broken
10回
arm.
くらい言っとったけど
ね
言っとったよ
てかさっきから何書いとんの
いや別に
I didn't get to read that in time.
え
What?
今なん
うぬきさんやろへへ教えたるわ
Uniki, he said.
ここら辺に昔やった
Oh
リン
shit.
ゴ屋で昔この辺りにはな
Because everyone else talked about Noniki, and here he is saying
駅病が多くて貧し
Uniki.
い土地やったから子供を
Yes
中絶するために薬を作っ
What?
山で取れる水銀から作ったこの土地だけの薬それの名前が確か
Urunuki medicine.
間引き薬って意味らしいで
水銀
What?
金属地のニサ山の名前の由来か
ニサ山
ニサって水銀のことやね神社とも言う
やから打退薬を使うことを山のうぬきさんにお返しするって隠語で表すようになってそんで
The offerings were aborted babies?
祀られたりしてそれから不思議と疫病とかが収まったんやって
俺覚えとらんけどその頃から山におったんか
意外とすぐ近くにおるかもな怖もしさ
What?
ほんまに近くにおったらどうする例えば誰かになり変わってたりしてて
Huh?
えそんなんすぐ気づくやろ山に帰れっつって帰ってもらう
考えたら怖いなでもそういうんって大体最後は
Is Asuko gonna piece it together based on that question you just
て
asked?
かマキなんでそんなに詳しいん
あ兄貴がオカルトマニアやね
Okaru?
東京の大学で民族学勉強しとる
Ah,
なあちょっと今マインで聞いてくれへんうぬきさんのこと
okay. We could learn. That's interesting, though.
そういやお前昨日の夜うち来たよな何やったん
わからん記憶がぼんやりしとってなんでそんなことしたんや来たね
Leave it to me.
兄貴から返事おう
We've seen that, like,
分損した
image
1700
3 times now.
うぬきさんの信仰はとっくに失われてたが藩ではこの地域に介入するとたたられるとささやかれ続けてたんよ
は
そしたら当時弾圧されてた別の宗教の信者たちが逃げてきてこれ幸いと住み着いただから希望が山には今も教会が多い
Okay.
教会でも首たちには教会なんか一個も
Not a single
神
one.
社ですら一つだけやのに
That's something that was mentioned by Company Guy, too.
本当にそうなんか
この祭りはな、もともとあの山の神さんための祭り。
Yep, we're going all the way back.
失われたんやなくて変容したんやとしたら
Maybe.
うぬきさん山の神様への信仰はどこかの時点で変化した
Urunuki Unuki.
やとしたら分損した1700年頃はもううぬきさんやなくのぬき様で分損も信仰の形に関係しとる
I feel like there's more to it than this.
ヨルベを失った村人たちは代わりに新たな宗教の神様を受け入れのぬき様は忘れ去られるけどのぬき様信仰は首たちには事実残っとる
Yep, they sure do. Because of the
忘
heads.
れられへんかったインド王家が犯した罪の落とし
Oh shit, I remember. Yes! I forgot about that flash.
されんかった
It was a
よしき
head. And that was an Indo.
何
Okay, it looked familiar,
どこまで話
yeah.
したっけ
So what did they do with the heads?
なんかしてくる前に武田のじいさんが言うとったどう調べんと
Oh shit, we're at the shrine in your back garden.
一応手入れはされとるなあ鍵持ってきたか
Imagine he's just like, ah, shit, I forgot the key. I gotta go get it. I hope my grandpa's awake.
真っ暗で何も見えん。
Ooh. All those heads. Are they real? I don't think they're real, are they? Okay.
木でできた作り物や。そう。なんでこんなもんが。おい、大丈夫か。ここ知っとる。
光の記憶か。
Okay, but Hichi isn't in there.
うぬき様に捧げられた
Oh, Kubi.
様や。この土地は昔から悪いことがよう起こる。そのせいで貧しくて苦しかったんや。やからうぬき様に首を捧げてお願い事をしてきた。
Okay.
疫病退散とかな。捧げた首はその場で消える。やから木で代わりの首作って銅で供養しとるんだ。
Jeez.
じゃあこの首はみんな死んだ人？
せやに。
That's
代々銅
awful.
を管理する家やからインドなんやで。首以外の体はなるべく遠くに埋めなあかん。それを楽にするために村が5つに分かれたんや。
Jeez.
そしたらな、たまたま人の形になってん。おもろいやろ。
Funny? Not sure that's what I call it.
その首ってさ、結局誰のなん？
病でもう長くない人や老人とかが多かった。村の外れに小さな祠があるやろ。あ
Yes.
れは旅の坊さんが無理やりお首様にされた時、たたりを忘れて作られたもんや。
ってことは人殺しして待ってるやん。
せやに、坊さんだけやない。他にも罪のない人たちがたくさん殺されて首にされた。
That's awful.
光、これがこの村の子や。絶対忘れたらあかんで。それにインド家の罪のことも。
The Indo family sin.
ベタに人殺しの村やったんか。
Yep.
そら隠すわな。特定の捧げ物って人間の首やったんや。
Did they have to kill someone new every time to get the heads or what? It is. That's Hichi. I knew it. The little shrunken
名
head.
前持っていいって。うぬきさんにお返しするんやって。でも俺は願いを叶えるに首なんかいらんのに、なんで？
光の記憶全部思い出したんか。結局インドの罪言うんは。
思い出せ。そこはまだもやがかかっとる。
Coincidentally.
他に光のお父やんと親しくていろいろと知ってそうな人なんて俺にはおる。
Young man Takeda? I mean, he's not young, but... Oh, your father! Ah, shit, you're right. I forgot about him, I'll be honest. He showed up for like 5 seconds. Oh, there is a post-credit scene.
冷たくて空っぽや。
Cold and empty.
だからたくさん入れたい。俺の中に飲み込んで。そしたら満たされるから。それが俺のやるべきこと。よしき。
光なんやボケっとつったってどうしたん。
So this is what they were talking about earlier with that night he showed up.
そこにおらんで入ってこいよ。
He showed up to consume your soul. Jeez.
ごめん。ええわ。
何光
Okay, shit. He showed up to try and kill his friend, I guess. Consume the soul? That's crazy. And so that was episode number 10 of The Summer Hikaru Died. An episode that really helped to bridge a lot of the information that we've been looking for. It helped to pave a path forward, give us a better idea of the sense of the history and the lore of this village, this land. And yeah, I think it did a great job, but at the same time, it made me a little more confused than maybe I was before. So I'm going to have to go through all that stuff again and read it all, which I'll do, you know, during this post-episode analysis, because yeah, some of it I felt like I was just questioning more things than understanding, and I wonder if that's on purpose or not, because yeah, it kind of is just information overload. So the episode begins essentially with all hell breaking loose as soon as Hikaru's head is removed. And the really interesting thing here is that in the previous episode, all of this stuff was in like almost slow-mo. was pretty much probably through like Yoshiki's perspective how the whole scene kind of played out, where things were so slow, things were really shocking, and you could almost hear like a pin drop and everything. Like it was just time was standing still, time was frozen. And in this episode, we see the way those events might have actually played out in, quick succession, where everything happened so hectically, everything was chaotic, everything just happened so fast. And it just puts into perspective, just how fast all of this shit can go down. And yet, like, all these things you have to question, like, it was the neck, the head being cut, the neck being cut. And what we learned later in the episode, I can't help but imagine that this was not unintentional. This was fully within reason and within context, within like world lore, it feels like this was purposeful, and this is how you maybe defeat this thing, with the cut of the neck, Noniki or Uniki. I don't really know. I feel like that's kind of a big part of what's going right over my head. This shit is going crazy. It's going all over. It's filling the whole room, and it's targeting the company guy. It's hitting him, it's smacking him up, it's whacked his sunglasses off his head. It's got a physical form that can move things, it has physical like form, effect, touch, I don't know what you would call that. So shit's going down, and that's then when we see the company guy start to laugh, and he's kind of maniacal, he's kind of crazy, he's absolutely insane, he is a psycho. And yeah, I don't really know what more to say about him, because he is very, very interesting as a character. I don't really know how else to describe him. And the way that this scene has been done is incredible. The fast-paced editing, the heavy breathing and like frantic breathing from Yoshiki, everything is just so perfect here, where you've got on one hand of the screen, like one side you've got the company guy laughing like a maniac, and on the other you've got Yoshiki essentially hyperventilating, Hikaru lying dead, and just the sound of this insanity from like the squelchiness of the thing within Hikaru. It is an intense scene. And yeah, like I said, the fast-paced editing really just helps to heighten everything here. And that's then when Yoshiki is pushing down the head onto the neck, and he's just kind of hoping for something to happen. He doesn't really know what'll happen here, I feel like, but I guess this is him kind of assuming or guessing or hoping is probably the better word, that since he knows Hikaru can heal himself, that this maybe will help. So long as all of this stuff within Hikaru hasn't escaped, being able to trap the neck and slam it shut might be able to heal, and things might be okay. I don't really know, but because of the whole neck removal thing, the fact then that the neck is no longer removed maybe helps to reverse everything that was happening there. But it also then makes me wonder why the company guy didn't stop Yoshiki and why he didn't do more, because after this then Hikaru has the neck healed essentially, and Yoshiki passes out. But the company guy doesn't do much more than that, and nothing else really happens, and we find out that Yoshiki is woken up in a hospital. So I'm wondering then if that means that the lady who was the wife of the guy who is in the little like cult or whatever, I don't know really how else to describe her, the one that answered the door to Yoshiki and Hikaru, the only thing I can think of is that she walked in on what was happening and kind of like broke up the situation, ordered an ambulance or whatever, took the boys to the hospital. Like, yeah, I can't in my head wrap my head around what maybe happened there, because we don't get those answers, and that is very surprising to me, because I feel like this series has done a great job of taking us from point to point to point to point to point without giving us any kind of like head scratching moments of like, well, how did that happen? And this is kind of the first time that that's happened, where I don't know how they ended up there, and the company guy didn't finish off the job with Hikaru, and I don't know if he would have taken care of or done anything with Yoshiki, but there was a chance, because both boys were passed out there. So I guess the company guy has a heart after all, and he took them to the hospital. Maybe I really have no idea what happened. When Yoshiki comes to, I think it's very telling that he pretty much immediately asks about Hikaru. He's disoriented and he's like, where am I, kind of, and then he starts to ask about Hikaru, whereas everyone else is kind of like, is it true what happened? Did you really have a fight? Did this guy really attack you? And, then there's also this question of what they were doing there. But like I said, Yoshiki only wants to know if Hikaru is okay. And yeah, I think it's great. I love seeing that Yoshiki's mother is worried about him, wants to know all these questions, wants to ask all these questions, and wants these answers, obviously. But I do think that it's very, very nice to see that he has someone like that who cares about him so deeply. But it's also really telling that he doesn't really answer any of that and instead immediately asks about Hikaru. Goes to show exactly how he feels, and that's immediately where his mind goes, and his first thoughts are for him. And yeah, supposedly the whole thing is being swept under the rug as a minor village feud. Yeah, okay, no shit. Minor village feud. That's what we're gonna call it. Okay. Yoshiki then is informed that Hikaru is sleeping right next to him on the other bed and that he has not woken up yet. So, yeah, kind of reminded me a lot of when he died and Yoshiki said that it took like days for him to wake up. And here it is again. And Yoshiki does himself even comment on that, saying like when it's a mortal wound, I guess it takes longer, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, this is kind of the second time Hikaru has died. But the first time, obviously, a literal death happened and the soul was removed. Whereas this time it was Noniki, I guess. I don't really know. It's making me more confused the more they throw around all these names. I'm confusing myself even talking about this, but this time it was the fake Karu that died and Yoshiki was able to bring it back. So then we cut back to the company guy who is sitting with his head in his hands and he's thinking to himself, wow, what an exciting time. What a lucky time I had. The thing from another era is back. I'm paraphrasing, or I'm trying to recall what was said here because I don't have the exact words right in front of me right now. But then he says something along the lines of, it chose to weaken itself because it has a sense of identity now. And yeah, those are things that we have seen. It has some semblance of identity through Hikaru, and a big part of that is through the relationship that he has with Yoshiki, and Yoshiki helping to bring out a side of Hikaru, this fake Hikaru, the figure that is within Hikaru that didn't exist before. And it's obviously mimicking and parroting all the things that Hikaru would have done, because this is not the real Hikaru, so he doesn't need to do all this, but he's doing it anyway to fit in. And yeah, he did also weaken himself for Yoshiki. So all these things you can attribute to Yoshiki in a sense. So this is exactly what this guy was out hunting after, and you know, that kind of felt obvious, like that's what it was leading towards the entire time from episode 1, but now we have confirmation of it, and he knows exactly what this thing is, and this is all part of his grand scheme, his master plan, whatever it happens to be. And yeah, I just don't know what that is, what that could be. The fact that he didn't kill this thing immediately, yeah, it makes me wonder if he doesn't necessarily want this thing gone, but this thing is a part of what he wants. So who knows when we'll find out about this ultimate goal of Company Guys. Maybe that'll be season 2 content for all I know. There's only 2 more episodes after this to watch. And yeah, then we also get Takeda. I'm just going to call him Takeda because he's not old man Takeda. Saying that his father probably won't survive. Like his father is probably dead here. It looks like he had a heart attack or a stroke. I can't remember what he said. I think he said heart attack. He comes in looking pissed. And yeah, the Company Guy is basically saying like, hey, I got here as fast as I could. And there's nothing more I could have done. I was here literally as soon as I could be here. It was too late by the time I got here is essentially what he says. But surprisingly, Takeda says, you know what? This is kind of like a relief for my wife and I. Like the way he says, he's like, I know this is terrible to say, but yeah, we're kind of relieved. And the way I am interpreting this is that they have been kind of weighed down by, you know, having his father here. And it's been a burden. It's been a lot, especially with everything that's been going on. So now that he is past, probably they feel a sense of relief that, you know, they no longer have to be weighed down and burdened by all of that. And it's not so much that they're glad he's gone, but they feel a sigh of relief that that weight has been lifted off their shoulders. And I'm sure that they're glad that it wasn't like a brutal murder or anything, kind of like with the Matsura woman. I'm sure that they're kind of glad of that. And this is then when we learn that the Company Guy is blind. And it makes me feel a bit bad because I was like, oh, there's something wrong with his eyes in the previous episode, but I'm glad I caught it. But at the same time, like, I don't mean to sound insensitive or whatever from that comment in the previous episode. I just thought that this was a mark from mixing, the fact that he had something with his eyes. But no, it makes sense that it's because of his blindness. And yeah, it's Also very interesting that he's able to see though because of these sunglasses. It's reminding me of, you know, Mackie from JJK. It's not the same, but similar premise-ish, not at all, but you know what I mean. And yeah, he's feeling around for his glasses and he finds them, and it's very shocking actually that he's blind, but I guess that can kind of explain his carelessness a little. I that sounds awful, but he maybe doesn't see himself all that much, so he doesn't see how dirty he looks or anything like that. I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm not going to linger on this point. Very curious, and makes a little sense as to some of the other things that kind of explain his character. But the way it's explained to us is that his blindness is a supernatural or a paranormal impairment, a type of paranormal impairment, but with the glasses on he can see. I honestly do think this is maybe Rie's son, because we saw a big slash across his face when he was a child, a permanent mark, a permanent damage, permanent scar. I can't remember what way Rie worded it. Was placed on him, and you know he's got these marks on him. So I can't help but think that this might be her son, because he's the only other person we know of that has been affected, that we never actually got a confirmation that he was dead that I can remember. Maybe we did, and maybe I'm just being dumb, and if that's the case, you'll have to forgive me, but I do like to go on these you know, theoretical kind of tangents, and I think that this is a fun one to think of, because being her son would mean that there's a chance that maybe he also has some sort of connection to this world, this other world, this afterlife kind of a bubble, like barrier, whatever it is, because we see that that's the case with Asuko. It runs in her family, so maybe it runs in his as well, and it's passed on from Rie. But because he's blind, it's very ironic that Asuko lost her hearing in one ear, or is losing her hearing in one ear, whereas he is blind entirely. They need things to help them out when it comes to this stuff, perhaps, and the company can provide that. But he doesn't like the fact that it's the company that provided this for him. He doesn't like that fact at all. And yeah, he then says that he's here to take care of Nanaki-sama, and that is his work, and he's going to do something about it, is exactly what he says here. Right after this scene then, it does cut to Yoshiki and Hikaru, so it's feels like at this point it's all but confirmed that Hikaru does indeed have Nanaki within him. I know that prior to this it was kind of theoretical, and that was kind of the leading theory. It felt like things were gonna go that way, like it felt like that's exactly where we were leading, but we didn't have that 100% like this is the proof, this is the confirmation moment. So now it feels like we did have that, because Nanaki is part of his ultimate plan, it seems, and he is here to do his work. And yeah, he says that he's also on humanity's side, so he'll do whatever it takes for humans. You know, he's not on the side of these other things, which I was suspecting at the end of last episode. I thought that maybe he would come to our side and help us because this village is kind of messed up, but that doesn't seem to be the case at all. It more so feels like he's here you know, to help humanity, which is kind of what he's been showing here. He's adding other things to his plate, whatever that means. I don't know if that means hunting down Hikaru or what, but he's gonna do some damage, he's gonna do some work before he leaves this place. When we come back to the dinner table, I think it's very interesting. I love Yoshiki's mother. She is honestly, like, I feel like great, because she doesn't get too on her kids' cases, but when she's worried, she will voice that and she will ask, hey, what's going on? Do I need to worry? Is something going on? You can rely on me. I can help. You know, she's very present and she's very there for her children. And we know that that's the case, especially with the daughter. But Yoshiki just does not want to talk about anything. So he kind of gets up and he leaves. He leaves the dinner table, and the mother's like, hey, get back here. But it's Kaoru who's like, hey, just leave him be. And this is when we get a very surprising scene, because as he leaves, his father comes storming into the house and he's got a bag and everything. And he's like, hey, are you okay? And Yoshiki's just like, sure, and leaves. Which, you know, considering the way the whole thing went a couple episodes ago, where Yoshiki was like, hey, pass on the word to my father that I hope he's doing well, just all this stuff, I was kind of surprised to see him so dismissive immediately of his father here. And I know it's because they don't have the best relationship, they don't have that bond that, you know, other parents might have with their children. But also, like, the timing of this scene, it makes a lot of sense that he would be dismissive, but at the same time, I think it's really nice that his father did show up here. It shows that he does care. One other thing I want to comment on is that I think I don't know what the character designs look like in the manga, but within the anime anyway, and I'm going to assume the manga because everything is probably pretty faithful, but holy shit, the way the parents' designs are for Yoshiki's parents, they look great because you can see Yoshiki in both of them. And it's not just the freckles or the moles on his father's face, but also like face shape as well. But then also like you can see parts of him in the mother as well. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I think they did a great job of making him look like both his parents. I know that sounds really silly and dumb, but like I do think that it was a great job, well done there. After this then we're introduced to the idea of this tunnel, the Darumaka tunnel or something like that. Within this tunnel, someone went missing in it recently. A YTuber, a YouTuber of course, went missing, and they were recording and they were like, hey, if you don't hear from me, it's probably means that I'm dead if I don't upload a video, blah blah blah. So they went missing, and so they're presumably dead, correct? But this is then when Rie tells us about the superstition and the stuff that happens within this tunnel. And within this tunnel, a shit ton of torsos were found. And that's insane. I was just so shocked and surprised by it. But then it's explained to us that depending on the location of the body part of where this figure looking area has been split up into, different body parts were found in those sections, and that is because of the way that it was split up. And we get a little answer as to why that might be a little later on in the episode, but right now we're working through it the way we have this information. But yeah, very surprising, very shocking, and also like makes the whole aspect of these body parts feel very relevant and very important. But then it's explained to us that the only place that didn't have anything found in it is way up where we are, and they did not find skulls. And yeah, I didn't think about that, but at the same time, like, certain things now might make some sense about that, but also they're just things that happen and I don't really have answers as to why that is. But you know, context, things are starting to add up, things are starting to give us some answers. And this is when what Yoshiki realizes that any of the entity things that he has found or that he has seen, they've all had something messed up with their necks. And yeah, I feel like I had also had that thought, but I just kind of passed it off as like it was a design choice. And I never thought much more about it. But then also the fact that the man slit his neck, things are making sense. Things are starting to give us answers. And that might have been part of a sacrifice or part of something in order to create one of these things or for one of these things. Like, I don't really know, but considering what we learn later on, yikes. Then we do start to talk about the guy with the sword and everything, and Rie is part of this conversation too. So maybe this isn't her son. I don't know, because this feels very much like, yeah, this guy's a mystery. We don't really know anything about him. And then when Yoshiki asks if he's a medium, if he can expel this thing, Rie is like laughing because this thing within Hikaru cannot be expelled. All they can do is like send it away. So Rie says she'll investigate that man herself, and if that is her son, I'm sure she would realize and know immediately. So yeah, we'll see where that leads. But one thing of note is that she knows about the company, and as she's saying this in her head, you know, about the company, Hikaru opens his eyes, wakes up, and things get weird. Yoshiki is staring into Hikaru's eyes, and Hikaru is pulling Yoshiki into his eyes. It's like he's sucking the life and existence and being out of Yoshiki and pulling him into himself. And this is because he's not awake. He doesn't have control over himself. It feels like Hikaru is not in control, and that this is the nature of the being within Hikaru that is just taken over completely, and it just wants to suck him in. It wants to take control of him, and it wants to take his soul. It wants to take his life. It just wants what it wants. It wants to fulfill its nature, essentially. But Rie thankfully is there, and she claps her hands and tells it to stop, and this wakes Hikaru up out of this weird trance that he was in. The imagery though that was used for this scene with Yoshiki being sucked in was breathtaking. Like the way that his face and everything, and his hair and his neck, everything that we could see was swallowed up, and it was this thing. It's kind of crazy considering everything that's been mentioned with mixing, and of course with how we have seen Yoshiki kind of tossing aside some of his humanity in order to help Hikaru. And yeah, this feels quite thematic and but at the same time very worrying. When Hikaru comes to, they talk about how Rie senses that he is much smaller than when he was on the mountain, the presence on the mountain, and Yoshiki blames himself for that, but Hikaru assures him it's not your fault at all. And then that's when they start to talk about the sword, the fact that the sword was able to do this, and there's something about that sword. And of course there is, like, we know this, we've known this, but the boys are realizing it, and I think it's good to see that they are discussing this, that they're coming to realize certain things. But it is nice to see Hikaru back to his usual jokey self. We see him making a lot of jokes here. Back at school, and I'm just thinking about something. I was about to talk about the scene within this episode, but I'm remembering suddenly the scene from last episode where they were in school and the guy, you know, I know that it looked like he was waving at Yoshiki, but did he do this as a sacrifice for Nanaki? Was that the idea? Huh. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. I'll talk about that when I get to that part of the episode with the shrine and everything. But for now, they're back at school, and it's very cute because Maki was missing Hikaru. Maki missed how funny he was. He missed him in general, and yeah, it's really nice to see because Hikaru does have people who cares about him. You know, it's not just Yoshiki. The next scene then, like, it's within the same scene, you know, with the school and everything, and you know, talking about Maki being glad Hikaru is back. Yoshiki is scribbling down little notes, and he writes in his notebook. I paused it on the frame. Forgive me, it's gonna look like a flashbang hit my face because I'm gonna pull up the frame where I can read exactly what it says here. But he writes down trade head for request. That seems to be the running theory here, that they're trading heads for a request from Nanaki, and that explains, you know, all the head stuff that's been going on and why the heads have been missing. They have not been found. The body parts have been found, but not the heads. And why is that? Because they're being exchanged for something. But it's through writing this down that the most surprising character of all to utter the name Uniki does so. Maki asks if he's studying up on Uniki, and for me, this was surprising because the only characters we've heard say Uniki have been the Endo family. It has been Nanaki to everyone else. So Maki uttering this name just feels so surprising. And I was left wondering, like, why him of all people? But he explains that his brother is into the occult and he's studying up and stuff like this. And he kind of has grown up around stuff like this. And he shares what he knows about Uniki. And that Uniki is derived from the fact that aborted children were done so with mercury back when the times were really bad with the famine and everything like that. And yeah, kind of crazy in all honesty. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around this part because this feels like just kind of what he's passing on and why it's maybe named that. I don't think the fact that it's named that means that, well, maybe maybe these babies were literally sacrificed for Nanaki in order to kind of fix what was happening in like as an offering to kind of repair what was happening because they were going through a famine and everything was terrible. Maybe they were literally offering up babies using this mercury. Who knows what was happening? Because yeah, that's kind of grim and that's honestly crazy. And interestingly, as you know, Maki is kind of describing the history and everything, what happened, and they made this shrine around this thing to kind of commemorate like everything that happened, blah blah blah. That's when Hikaru's like, I don't remember any of that. Was I already on the mountain at that point? So yeah, so much happened this episode, so much information that I can't quite wrap my head around most of it. It's just too much information overload here. But then, you know, Hikaru does ask, well, if one of us was to become possessed by this thing, this Nanaki Uniki, do you think could you tell? And they're all like, yeah, we could tell immediately. Duh, of course we could. We know each other really well, blah blah blah. But the only person who doesn't answer here is, surprisingly or unsurprisingly in all honesty, Asako. And I feel like she might have realized something here. The mention of possession, and she's been assuming or presuming or knowing that Hikaru is possessed. Hearing this mention of possession from him, it's certainly going to make her think, and it might set off some alarms in her head. I would not be surprised at that at all. So yeah, Yoshiki asks if he can set up some contact with Maki's brother to ask a couple of questions, or a question that he has about Unuki he wants to learn, which is what they're trying to do. Yoshiki is speaking with Hikaru, and Yoshiki mentions how Hikaru came over last night, and he's asking about it. And Hikaru says, I don't know why I did that, my memory's all fuzzy. And yeah, I didn't understand the scene while I was watching it. I thought he said that night, not last night, so I didn't know what night he was talking about, but we do get that at the end of the episode. We get to see this scene, kind of the night that he showed up. Last night. So yeah, within this scene we don't get answers as to that, you know, the whole coming over last night thing. But Yoshiki is looking at him kind of like, you know, like, I don't know how to describe that look. It's kind of like he's looking at him with like this wariness, like he's watching him closely. And then we do get the information from Maki's brother, and he shares that by the time everything happened in the 1700s with the famine or whatever, Unuki was no longer seen as this religious figure, and that this other religion had come in. I presume it's Christianity. We see the cross and everything, and this religion kind of took over, and there was no more praying to or belief of this other god. But obviously we know that this village that we are within here with this series, they worship this god because they have these festivals and everything. And yeah, then we're left with the question of where did all this religion go? You know, within Kubitachi there is a single shrine and nothing else. What happened here? And we don't actually get those answers. We do get some, like the lore and information that we got wasn't as much as I was hoping for, but it was a nice little insight and a nice little tease for what might be coming with more information down the road, you know. So Yoshiki starts to recall about his father, you know, mentioning the festival and everything and worshipping this god. And then he starts to think, well, maybe this god, it's still here, it just has a different name, it looks different, something like that, and goes through the names Urunuki, Unuki, and Nonuki. All very similar, but all different. So why did the names change? What does it represent? What does it mean? Are we going to get that answer within the next couple episodes? Probably not. I would suspect that we will get those answers in season 2 and beyond. So Yoshiki, he's very smart, and he starts to do his own digging, he starts to do his own theorizing and thinking, and he suspects that the reason the worshipping of Unuki disappeared around the 1700s is because the name had already been changed to Nonuki, and that's what was being worshipped perhaps around those times. And he starts to think of all these ideas, but he can't quite get finite answers, definitive answers for what he's trying to figure out about all of this stuff. But I love to see that he is thinking and coming up with these things himself. Sorry, Peanuts here, he was being a bit of a menace. So I love that Yoshiki is thinking anyway. He's doing all this thinking of his own, and he's coming up with these ideas. And one of the things that he thinks up is that maybe the reason that they started worshipping these other religions is because Nonuki had become this ideal of, you know, everything bad that happened. Like, they associated this curse with Nonuki. Yoshiki then recalls the memory thing that he saw about the Endos, right? With the figure carrying a head. And interestingly, that's something I had forgotten. And yeah, carrying a head, like, oh, just the clues were there. They were giving us these little teases, but they weren't giving us enough. And just enough that it might be something you forget about. And this is one of those cases where it's annoyingly something I forgot about. And he's suggesting that the reason Kubitachi still believes is because the Indo family still needs to atone. And this is all about the Indo family. This whole murder village is about the Indo family. The boys then recall how they were told that they should go to, it's not that they were told to go to the shrine, but they remember Old Man Takeda talking about the shrine. So that's where they decide to put their efforts next. They go to the shrine of the Indo family in their back garden, basically. And this is where things get kind of bizarre. They open up the door to the shrine, and that's when we get this shock. We see all these faces staring back at us, and it's reminding me of, I guess, like the Hall of Faces from like Game of Thrones. I know there's been other things that have done like halls of faces and stuff like that as well, but that's exactly what it reminded me of. And I thought that they were maybe the real heads of the people whose bodies were left behind, you know, the arms, legs and everything were left behind, and all that remained were heads. I thought that these were the heads, but no, it happens to be wood carvings of the heads of the people who were offered up. Just the heads were offered up. And that's what I'm most confused about. I don't know if these heads that were offered up were offerings, like new offerings, or if they were the people that were murdered or what. Like, I this part is confusing me, and this is the part I think I need to go through, maybe. But the heads are called Okubi-sama, and they are offerings made to Uniki-sama. The poor people had it rough, and so that's why they offered the heads in exchange. Uniki-sama helps them out. It helps their crops, prevent disease and stuff like that. And the heads disappear once they are offered up, so that's why they make these wood carvings, just as a way to honor those dead people, the sacrifices or whatever. So the heads are all those of dead people. The splitting up of the rest of the bodies was done throughout the region, depending on, you know, the different body part name and everything. And ironically, it just so happens to be that the whole region makes up the shape of a body, but apparently that's not why. It just happens to be circumstantial. Regardless, that is why other body parts were found and the heads were not, because the heads disappeared once they were offered, but they had to bury the other body parts elsewhere. Hikaru asked the question, we're wondering whose heads are they anyway, and most of them belong to the terminally ill or disease, I think he said. But then the most curious thing that's mentioned to us here is that, like, all the heads that we see are those of probably the people that died back in the 1700s, is what I'm going to assume. And I don't know how we still have those heads or what, because sacrifices still had to be made or whatever. But regardless, maybe that's not the case. Maybe they're not still sacrificing heads. Maybe it was just all the heads that were sacrificed back then in the 1700s, and now they just bring Hichi up, which is the little shrunken head. But one thing that is relevant and important is that they did offer up the head of a traveling monk. They killed and chopped off the head of a traveling monk, which is the little bell thing that we've seen, the hunting dog, I'm assuming anyway, because it looked very similar to that shrine anyway. And that is why that is important. That traveling monk made this whole town murderers, and they did so out of fear of being cursed. So this is a town of murder, as it's been called. But it wasn't just the monk, they killed a lot of innocent people. So this is why I'm glad I went back, because I was so confused. I was like, they're telling me one thing and then telling me another, and I don't know which parts to, you know, interpret in one way and the other. And it's very straightforward laid out here, so I'm glad I'm going through this. Also, I apologize for my awkward posture. I still have Peanut here. I don't know if you can see him, but he's getting a little head pats and he's purring quite loudly. I don't know if it'll pick up on the microphone. And that is the curse of this village, and that is the Indo family sin. I don't know if they were the ones that took the head of the curse or of the monk or whatever, but the Indos, anyway, they started this somehow, some way. They're the reason, they're the cause, and they need to atone. And then Hikaru speaks as Nonaki, where he says, I don't need heads to grant wishes. What's the deal with all these offerings? So yeah, very, very curious that he's speaking as Nonaki now, whereas he's only ever spoke as, I guess, Hikaru, or like, you know, this unknowing being. And I guess we'll learn what the point in these heads are, because they disappear. And why do they disappear? What's the cause for that? What's the reason for it? And so now they're thinking, well, who could we ask who maybe knew something? Who knew your father? Who knew, I don't know his name, but Papa Indo? And then that's when Yoshiki says, I know someone. And then we focus on Yoshiki's father. I figure that it's very mysterious to us, and someone that I've been wanting to get to know, because I need to know more about him, because it'll explain things about Yoshiki, for example. And that's what we're going to be doing in the next episode. We're going to be approaching Papa Yoshiki. Papa, I can't even remember their surname. I apologize. And that's going to be in the next episode. But at the end of this one, we do get that scene where we see what happened last night, with Hikaru showing up, not as Hikaru at all. He was possessed, he was taken over completely, and he wanted to take Yoshiki's soul. And that's worrying, because Hikaru is losing control now. It's slipping more. He is not necessarily in control at all times. He is slipping, and this Nonaki is taking over, and it has something that it wants. It wants Yoshiki's soul, because it's so warm and so bright and so inviting and so comforting. and he'll be satisfied if he can do this. And I love the way they did this, because Hikaru is, you can tell it's him from the shape of his body, but there's no semblance of his humanity. There's no semblance of Hikaru. It's all this other entity. It's a shadowy figure. It's pixelated, it's fuzzy, and the red eyes are glowing, and there's just nothing about it that seems human at all. It's very creepy, it's very ominous, and it makes you think something bad is going to happen here, and something that isn't the Hikaru that we know and love is right in front of Yoshiki. And Yoshiki's asking, what are you here for? And he invites him inside. He says, hey, come inside. Hikaru stretches out his arm, and that's when it crosses into the threshold of Yoshiki's house and comes towards Yoshiki. Maybe it's the light and the warmth from Yoshiki's soul here that saved him, but whatever it is, that is what causes him to stop, turn around, and forget about it. You know, it's worrying because it's showing him lose control, and I don't like that. I don't like that he's losing control. But yeah, I don't know if I really have much more to say about this episode. This was an incredible one that really gave us a lot of answers, a lot of questions, and a lot of important stuff for this series for sure. And I know that in the next couple of episodes we're probably going to get more, and we're probably going to leave off in such a way that hopefully feels like a nice cap off for season 1 before we get season 2 in the future. And yeah, that's going to do it for me for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe if you've not done so already, and comment down below with any questions you might have for me, and of course to let me know what you're doing on Halloween Day, if you're dressing up or anything like that. And yeah, hit the bell down below. You'll be notified when these videos do go live, and share this with a friend who you think might enjoy videos like this one. And yeah, that's going to do it for me. I hope that you guys are having a great day today, and that you're able to take it easy. I will see you in the next one. Take care.